Welcome to WVTC TV Network, capturing family moments in real time, bringing families closer together from the comforts of home. We are unleashing something different to the world. Start your subscription today for the low price of $4.99 per month or $55 annually. Go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com to sign up today. WVTC TV Network is streaming live on 8 different platforms. You can easily download the WVTC TV Network app on the Apple Store, Play Store, Roku, Fire TV, and more. Here at WVTC TV, we have access to movies that everyone can enjoy, including independent films, Sons of a Preacher and a Good Thing, Treasures of Life, the epic drama, The Passion of the Christ, and the box office hit Madagascar Escape to Africa. Remember, go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com and sign up today.
Good evening. I am Edward Jones, and this is
Latanya Jones.
And this is the Family Phirst podcast. We're back for another week. And I'm excited about this week. We've heard a whole lot of comments about what we talked about last week and on conflict. And we even got a call from our daughter in away at college, and she and her boyfriend watched the podcast, and they had a whole conversation about it. So I'm excited about the fact that what we're talking about resonates with you all, and hopefully it's sparking some good conversations and things of that nature. So we might as well go ahead and jump into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And so to go along with what we talked about last week with conflict, there's one thing that often causes conflict in relationships in family. And one thing that often causes conflict is the pecking order of who's most important, or is the spouse more important, or the children more important, or is the mother more important, or mother-in-law more important. So today we are going to kind of talk about navigating those spaces and trying to figure out what's the right order, the pecking order of relationships in the midst of a relationship. Because all of us have dealt with that in some way, some shape, form, or another. If you're married or in a relationship, you have children, you're thinking about, and even if you don't have children, you're thinking about having children. This is a conversation that you have to have with your significant other.
Yeah.
So tell me what you what came across your mind as we were thinking about having this as a topic. What were some of the things that you were seeing or hearing that made you say, you know what, we need to talk about this?
Oh, wow. Just hearing a lot in terms of it's difficult to balance family life. You know, you if you're married, you have a husband, you have children, there's so much that you're trying to balance. Who do you give your time to? How do you decide that? And especially if you have multiple children like we do.
Right.
And we've been there. We've had multiple, we have 5 children together. And so it's been difficult at times trying to navigate. Okay, I got all these kids and they all have needs, but then I have a husband too, and then I have myself.
Right.
So how do you navigate all of that and still have a happy home?
Right. That's a lot of navigating.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of navigating. Well, let's start off first by saying there is a pecking order in the household. There should be a pecking order. The pecking order is God is first.
Mhm.
All right, God is preeminent. God is first. Then the spouse. The spouse is next. Then
Mhm.
the children are after the spouse. And I just heard somebody say, "Oh,
What?
no, my children come first." No, my children come.
What?
No. If you are married, the spouse comes before children.
Mhm.
Now, if you're not married, then the children comes before the person that you're dating.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
But in a married household, children come after the spouse. So in our situation, in our marriage, uh, my first and foremost uh, need is to make sure that you're good.
Mhm.
Before I check to see if the kids are good,
Mhm.
I'm going to check to make sure you're good.
Mhm.
Now, because you're a mother and that you're always thinking about your children,
Mhm.
sometimes making sure you're good is making sure that the kids are good
Mhm.
because you're good when they're good.
Right.
But my first check-in is always, okay, what does my wife need? What does she need?
Right.
What are her desires? What does she need?
Right.
Because guess what? We have 3 in college now,
Mhm.
and 2 that are 12. When the last 2 leave, it's just gonna be us.
Right.
We're raising our children to lead a house, so I can't
Yes.
put them
They
on.
can't come back.
Right. So I can't put them
Right.
above you,
Right.
and we're raising them to leave.
Right. Because what happens, and this happens a lot, because I've heard this happen, where, okay, now the kids are out of the house. Now, this person who I've been married to for, however many years, who who are you?
Yeah, right.
I don't know who you are,
Yeah,
because I haven't spent time nurturing and building our relationship every day. I've put all of my time and my efforts and energy into just the kids,
right,
but not taking care and nurturing that relationship, that marriage.
right, right.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, and it causes, man, they were married for 30 years, and all of a sudden they're getting divorced because a lot of times they have used the children as a proxy.
Right.
And their total relationship is based upon the children.
Right.
And then when the children are gone, like you said, they don't know one another.
Right.
They haven't nurtured that relationship with one another.
Right.
And so that's why children have to come after, because even from a biblical perspective,
Mhm.
we're supposed to leave and cleave to one another.
Right.
And so if what's the word, cloven? If we have cleaved, cloven to one another, then we're one.
Right.
And so I have to make sure that you're good because you're me,
Right.
and I'm you. And sometimes I feel that in our relationships that we spend so much time because our children are needy, because our children do have things that they need to have taken care of.
Mhm.
uh, they can't care for themselves because that's why God gave them to us,
Mhm.
to nurture them, to take care of them, to
Mhm.
provide for them.
Mhm.
But we cannot allow that to do away with the primary relationship,
Mhm.
which is us.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And I think it's a matter of really thinking in terms of, um, yes, we have the kids, they're here, they have needs, but that relationship has needs as well.
Mhm.
And we have to find ways to be able to tend to that. Same thing like when you said, hey, first, what's primary is our relationship with God. That comes first.
Mhm.
So even in that, how are you tending to that relationship?
Mhm.
Because if you're not tending to that relationship, then your relationship with your spouse is going to be faulty. And if you're not tending to the relationship with your spouse, then your relationship with your children is going to be
Mhm.
faulty. It all has a domino effect.
Yeah. Well, you saying some good stuff. You saying some good stuff
But
today.
it's true if you think about
Yeah.
it. And that's something that I have come to learn, that if something is off between you and I, or something's off with me and the kids, if I'm just off, that means I haven't had my time with God. I need to go somewhere in my corner.
So you need to go somewhere and sit down.
I need to go somewhere and sit down and get in my corner and really have that quiet time with God and really talk to God to get my mind back together. And so when that happens, then I can be able to be the spouse that I need to be with you. And then when things are going great with us, things are just so much easier with the kids.
Oh yeah. Hey, when I am when I'm happy, oh, the kids are great. with me and you are good. Oh, the kids, oh man, we're winning, because they're gonna get everything, because there's no in our family, we have something that's called FA. And FA is short for funky attitude. And so if we're good, there's no FA. And so if there's no FA, then the kids are gonna be good. Kids can almost ask for anything. They don't have to worry about nothing, because we're good. And so we nurture our children out of the overflow of our relationship.
That's it.
And so if we're off, if we're something, then we can't give the kids what they need. Now, to go along with that, with our kids, because we have 5, and even though we have 2 sets of twins, every single one of them are different.
Absolutely.
And their needs are different. And their needs from us are different. The things that that Jasmine will call you from college are different than the things that she calls me for. You know. She calls me for money. She doesn't call you for money. She calls me for money. Joshua, he calls me on advice and stuff like that.
He calls me for money.
He calls you for money.
Right.
Because dad's gonna tell him to do something else. But well, no, he called me for money today. He did call me for money today. But all of them are different. And Jonathan, I just, Jonathan, I don't know. He just calls. He figures it out on his own. He's very self-sufficient. And then the girls are different too. What they need from me is different than what they need from you. And so we have to attend to them according, and I will say, with your children, with our children, and I will advise that you cannot, watch this, you cannot love them all the same. I'll say that again. You cannot love all of your children the same. You love them equally, but not the same. Because each of their needs is different.
Totally different personalities.
So when I'm with let's say with the girls, with Jacqueline and Jocelyn, Jacqueline needs me to love her different than how Jocelyn needs. Jacqueline from me needs some words of affirmation. That's how Jacqueline, she needs her daddy to tell her that he loves her, and he that she's so smart, and she's, that's how she needs dad to love her. Jocelyn, she needs dad to give her a big old hug. That's my hugger, and she needs to know that dad, is he loves her, and he's present, he's there for her. I love them equally, but I love them differently. And so, but once again, if I don't have my reservoir full, if we don't have our stuff, I don't have anything to give the kids.
Yeah. That's huge. And I think, we've talked about this before on our past podcasts, but just the importance, we're modeling behavior for them. So it's very important that they're able to see, okay, this is how you can be in a relationship. And yeah, mom takes care of dad, dad takes care of mom. And they see that. They see that we have our time where we fast and we pray. And they see that we have a relationship that we've cultivated with God. And they see that that is important. So they see it and it's modeled before them. So then when it's time for them to have their families, okay, they know okay, this is what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
You know, again, I've talked about how, you know, when I was young, I had just a different idea concept of, you know, what marriage, family life was like. So definitely becoming a mom, I'm like, look, I'm about to do everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
super
mom.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna be super mom. I am going to be, you know, on it, you know, everything that they need, I'm going to be there. Almost kind of like the helicopter mom. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be everywhere that I can be. And you realize that you wear yourself out.
Yeah.
And then I started to notice that my only conversation, my kids.
Yeah. You can't, you got to have an adult conversation.
You know, my only conversation, and now my life is wrapped around, you know, my kids. And anybody who knows me, they know how crazy I am about my kids, and I talk about them all the time. And I just absolutely adore my children. And so it really started to hit me, I think, when Jasmine graduated.
Yeah. She went to college.
And she went to college. And she's like, bye-bye. and I'm thinking to myself, well, do you need me to stay? And do you need me to? And she like, no.
Dropped her off at school. She was like,
she like, no, bye-bye, see you later. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and you just have this crisis, this internal crisis that it's like, oh my God, wait a minute. Like they do grow up and they leave.
Yeah.
And they're not sad about it either.
They're not. and so one thing too about how we run our household, and that our children know that we put each other first, and they don't feel slighted by it. They don't. So there'll be times where we say, "Hey, me and your mama gone. We'll see y'all in a little bit. Y'all, y'all teenagers, y'all know where the food is, y'all know where the whatever is, and me and mama need some time, and we'll go get something. And watch this, she and we'll go get something to eat. We'll go sit down and go get something to eat, and not feel like we have to take the kids with us. You know, well, we'll go out to breakfast or we'll go out to lunch.
Now, it wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
It wasn't always. It was not always that way.
I'm like, no, you need to, right.
It was not. I had to really kind of realize, like, okay, like this isn't healthy.
Yeah.
You know, that I really need to, you know, I've done what I'm supposed to do, and I continue to do what I'm supposed to do as a mom, but I'm not just a mom.
Right.
So I didn't get married just to be a mom. I'm married, and I'm also I'm a mom, but I'm a wife.
You're a wife first.
I'm a wife first.
Yeah.
And so that has to have some level of importance. That have to be important. And I have to make sure that I make time, you know, for my spouse as well.
Yeah.
And so then it's being intentional about the time that we spend together. And so when we are together, we're not necessarily talking about kids per se, or what they're doing, or their shenanigans.
Right.
But it's just about us.
Yeah. Have conversations about things that have nothing to do with your children. Even as a pastor, our conversations, I try very much so to have very little of our conversations have to do with ministry.
Yeah.
You know, because that doesn't define us. And that's what our relationship, you know, isn't defined by that. And so we find our own niche niche to deal with and to converse about and all of that. Let me say this though, and on the flip side, as I kind of opened and said that um, in a marriage relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it's God, then your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
then your children.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a single parent, well, there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
There is God, then your children,
Mm-hmm.
then the person you're seeing or dating, if you're seeing or dating in that part. And that causes a lot of issues in relationships because of usually two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, and we'll talk about both of these. Number one is because sometimes men want a place in the woman's life
Mm-hmm.
above the children
Mm-hmm.
before they're married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one issue.
Mm-hmm.
The second issue is the woman does not place the husband above the children after marriage
Mm-hmm.
because they're so used to it being their children, their children first, and this, that, and the other. But when those dynamics change, you have to change, and it
Mm-hmm.
causes friction
Yeah.
in so many relationships. And unfortunately, that is blended families or mothers, single mothers with children, or single fathers with children.
Mm-hmm.
That is more of the norm now
Mm-hmm.
than ever before.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing for that to deal with that. And I see a lot of relationships
Mm-hmm.
are broken because the uh, the the mother uh, eh, because they've been a single mother for so long,
Yeah.
and the children become kind of codependent even sometimes.
Yeah.
And then the man comes in and you're trying to find his way, and then the mom still wants to put the children above the husband, and all of those different things. And so it causes
A
issues,
lot of
but
issues.
because we don't understand what the pecking order should be.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I don't know, that might be a little bit dicey, but I think that's needed, and that's
It's
something
true.
that's true. It's something that needs to be
Because
talked about.
there's a lot of women who are single who are out there dating. Want to be married. They have children, one or two children, and it's difficult. It's number one, just dating period is difficult right now. But then dating and you have children because you want to protect your children. You don't want your children to be
As you
hurt.
should want to protect them,
You should.
because I've seen, or there's some people that just bring any and everybody through
Yeah, you got to be
doors around
mindful.
a
You got to be
revolving door.
mindful
No.
when you're dating. So that is important. But it does get to be difficult, especially if those dynamics are starting to change and you're moving from, okay, this is just not someone I'm dating, but this is someone that's going to be a part of our life. And so depending upon too, like the age of that child, that makes a difference. So if it's a young, maybe a toddler or a baby, it's different versus someone who's a teenager.
Right.
So there's a lot of different dynamics that are at play, but it's definitely something that, especially as a woman, you have to really think about and consider, and even having a talk with that child, and depending upon the age of that child, to say, hey, this is what's happening. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Yeah.
And that's important to be able to explore that with that child. That's me putting on my clinical hat.
Yeah.
But it's important to be able to explore that with that child, to say, how do you feel about this? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any anxiety or any feelings about it? And if so, let's talk about it.
Yeah. And at the same time, not allowing the child to take the relationship hostage.
That's true. Very true.
That the child is going to, because once again, the child is used to being the center of attention, because a lot of times with single mothers, that's what they're putting their time and their energy into. Now the child sometimes feels like mother doesn't, that this new person is coming to replace me, and when that's not the case. And if the mama is happy, your life gonna be better. It's not taking anything away from you, it's adding something to you. So that is a conversation that has to happen. But once again, the mother has to be mindful of this and has to be willing to say, and I'll say this very boldly, and say, if you are not willing to put your spouse above your child, don't get married. Don't It's okay to be single if that's going to be your relationship, and it's okay, because it causes more drama down the road than it's worth. Same way for single fathers. If you're feeling that it's going to cause issues, there's going to be strife, that you just cannot deal with this situation without your child's got to come first because I had the child before I had you and all that other stuff. No, don't save the other person some headaches, save them some heartache. Don't do it. I know that might sound harsh.
Now, so one question I want to ask of you is, as we're just talking, and we're saying again the importance, the pecking order, and putting the spouse before the children. What does that look like?
Right.
Because for some people, that may sound harsh, especially like these children. The children, again, they need attention, they need time, and energy. So what does putting the spouse ahead of the children, what does that look like, say, for you?
That's good, because it does not mean that you're neglecting the children. All the needs are being met, but the first, watch this, the first thought is to the spouse and not the child. And so a crazy example, I'll use this as an example. If we're getting ready to go out to eat, if we want to go out to eat, I don't ask the children, where do y'all want to go eat? I ask you. And the children are going to eat wherever you say you want to eat. I'm paying for it. I'm taking the family out. But my thought is, what do you want to eat? That is putting my spouse first, versus saying, hey kids, what do y'all want to go eat? And knowing your diet and how you like to eat, saying, well, we're going to go eat what the kids want to eat. You're just going to have to tough it out. And so that is a small example of what it looks like. It does not mean that you neglect or treat the children bad, but your first thought and your first check is going to be about the well-being and what the spouse thinks, what the spouse desires. Okay. And so we have those. So that is what it looks like in our life, and how I express it. I might throw in a load of laundry for you. I'm not throwing in a load of laundry for them.
Right.
Okay. I'm concerned about how your day. I'm concerned about their day too, but I'm going to take some stuff off of you before I'm thinking about taking stuff off of them, especially if they're able-bodied and they're willing and that they know how to do. That's what I'm talking about, nurturing our relationship, you coming first. and things of that nature. Once again, it does not mean that our children are neglected. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying no, just forget whatever they want or whatever. No,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna check with you first, and then if there's aligns with what you want, or there's some variation, or you may say just ask the kids what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then so I'll ask the kids, but I'll ask the kids after I've asked you. And and,
Mm-hmm.
and I ask the kids based upon, your recommendation. Just ask the kids what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what we need. That's what we need to do. Um, so by the same token,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there are issues when uh, men that are dating single women, or women that are dating single fathers, that want the role
Mm-hmm.
and the deference and the authority
Mm-hmm.
without first having the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be preeminent, and they ain't put the ring on the finger yet.
Mm-hmm.
They want the deference that comes with spouse when they're not the spouse yet.
Mm-hmm.
So and that causes conflict, and that's that delicate dance
Mm-hmm.
that has to be done, and you have to learn how to navigate. So you cannot operate. Watch this. You cannot operate outside of the realm of your authority.
Mm-hmm.
The so You only get first preference if you're a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not the spouse, you don't get first preference. Children get that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if people understood that going in,
Mm-hmm.
but once again, that other piece is that transition. Okay, when the brother or the sister uh, has made it beyond the dating stage to the spouse,
Mm-hmm.
now that transition needs to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I would always recommend premarital counseling,
Yeah.
uh, that you're navigating these things beforehand, so that you're having those conversations with
Mm-hmm.
the child, and you're understanding. And it doesn't happen overnight. That
Mm-hmm.
stuff doesn't happen overnight. That switch does not flip overnight. And
Mm-hmm.
so you might have to catch yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um,
And in some cases, it might not even be an issue with the child having an issue. It just might be that, the woman or the man just still, well, I'm used to just doing
yeah,
things and operating a certain way.
yeah,
And so, okay, now I have to transition and switch over now that I have someone here, in the house with me now,
yeah, yes,
and so definitely I recommend premarital counseling as well to be able to help with
yeah,
navigating that.
yeah. Another like, to go along with this, now we're gonna really pile it on. Another dynamic with the pecking order are quote unquote baby mamas and baby daddies,
Mm-hmm.
because because if you have a child, and then you have another parent that is associated with that, and so you have to figure out those uh, pecking orders and boundaries, and that boundaries are
Huge,
huge.
yeah. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and so we have to, if you have a child with someone
Mm-hmm.
that you're no longer married to, you don't have carte blanche access to that person's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You parent that child, you do what you need to do to parent that child,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have carte blanche over their lives to interfere,
Mm-hmm.
or you should not expect uh, deference or deferential treatment just because you're the parent of that child.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we see a whole lot.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole phrase "baby mama drama" comes from. And,
Right.
and you don't have uh, the carte blanche. And so the moral of that story is just make sure an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing some of these things on the front end that we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
preferably we're not in a lot of these situations, but we have to deal with those wisely.
And be mindful.
Be mindful. Ex-wives, ex-husbands, those things. Be mindful, and that um, that you don't have an automatic place or say
Mm-hmm.
in that person's life or relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't insert yourself.
Yeah.
And don't allow people to insert themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another area where we have to get those boundaries and those pecking orders.
Yeah.
You know, and I think another pecking order or boundary that we see a lot in relationships is how we deal with our parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or in-laws, or in-loves, or however you want to call them, parents.
Yeah.
So tell me what you think. So where does the husband's mama fit in the pecking order of spouse, children, and mother-in-law and all that stuff? Where does mother-in-law fit?
I feel like mother-in-law is in there.
she in there. She in there.
Because I love my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, it's something I hadn't really thought about, but I think, you know,
we navigate it naturally. But I'm gonna let you off the hook a little bit. No, I'm just gonna try to see what she's gonna say. I'm gonna let her off the hook. No, because my mother understands pecking order.
Yeah.
My mother has never inserted herself, and she understands. So it's so funny that I've seen the meme. You know, they've asked a question. You're driving your mother and you're driving your mother and your wife. Who gets the front seat?
Oh,
and, you know, who gets in the front? Who gets in the front seat?
Yeah.
Well, the wise mother, which my mother is, she automatically goes to the back seat.
Yeah. And I'm trying to put her in the front.
And you're trying to put her in the front. And so that's wisdom, trying to be deferential to one another.
Right.
But sometimes mother-in-laws or mothers don't want to let go of their children.
Mm-hmm.
And feel that they're still mama, which they are, but they're mama, but the role shifts.
Mm-hmm.
You're still father, you're still daddy, but the role shifts.
Well, I think, and just like how we talk about trying to be an example for our kids, and so it's important when we do, because we're trying to be an example for them. But I think something that I have seen, like in your mom, how definitely she doesn't insert herself. You know, she will give advice, but when we ask.
Right. No unsolicited advice.
So she, you know, and even then, if it isn't something that we have asked, you know, she will do it in such a way that it's almost like, how did you know? I wanted to know. How did you know I was going to ask that question? You know, so that it's not where it's overbearing or anything like that. So I think that's something I appreciate. And I have learned a lot how that is something to be when that time comes with Jasmine or the boys, when that time comes, that, you know, I want to be that kind of, you know, in-law, that I am present, I am here, I am helpful, I am present, you know, I'm there for you when you need, but at the same time, I'm not just going to insert myself in the middle of your marriage.
And part of that, and I think part of that is as the husband and son, I'm very intentional of saying, okay, this is my wife.
Right.
This is mama. Mama, you got your role over here.
Right.
This is my wife. Wife has role over here.
Right.
Wife comes first.
Right.
And she understands that wife comes first. And so, and I think that's why y'all get along so well, because we understand God's divine order. And sometimes it may be a little bit more difficult if we have in-laws or whatnot that don't have an understanding of divine order. And that may cause some conflicts. But just because others don't know does not mean that you don't have the ability to enforce those boundaries and operate in the way that that God would have us.
Healthy boundaries.
Boundaries are
so important.
So important.
So important.
And so those are some of the different types of relationships that that we have, and they make us good, and they make us good for one another. Now watch this. Some of our because you have preeminence, that means I have to do things also that nurture you, or allow you to do things that nurture you that have nothing to do with me. You know, I was just teasing you the other day where you said, "Well, I'm going with, my sorors. We're doing this, that, and the other." I said, "Oh, you about to be out there in them streets." But if you have good relationships, and you're out and you're having it nurtures you, and that nurtures you, that nurtures us. And you're the same way with me. If I'm out with some of my friends, and you know that is giving me life, that is rejuvenating me, so that when we come back together, that we're rejuvenated, I'm in a good mood, and there are certain things that brothers just need to be around brothers.
Right.
And sometimes sisters just need to be around sisters. Women just need to be around sisters. And, as handsome as I am, I know that you get tired of looking at me sometimes. You want to talk to some other women, And so that is part of nurturing our relationship, and not trying to hold you so tight that, okay, if you're not with me, then you can't do nothing. That's not what nurturing our relationship
and being
is first.
in tune with each other, and kind of knowing, again, we're talking about 22 years of marriage, that we've been together for 22 years. So we have come to learn, because again, it didn't always start off that way. I think we started off where we was just looking at each other 24 hours a day.
Just in each other's face all day.
In each other's face all day, every day. And it was the same thing with the kids. And I could not imagine being apart from them, being away from them. I remember the first couple of times that we went out to eat, and all I could think about was, I wonder what they doing. Are they okay? And again, you just learn as you mature, you get older, that is very important. As we're parenting, we can't neglect ourselves in the midst of it.
I remember there are a couple of times I said, "Stop thinking about them kids. Them kids all right. They gotta put your phone down. Stop that.
Right.
The kids are all right."
Right.
And so, but that is something that we all go through at different times in different ways. But and sometimes I will admit it's probably tougher for moms than it is for dads, just simply because you carried them. You carried them, you will know those children in a way that I will never know
Absolutely.
them. And
Absolutely.
So I understand that, and it's an emotional tie. But please do not allow your attachment to your children to ruin your relationships. Especially because you're going to, like I said, we're raising our children to be productive citizens, to leave home, to start their own families. And we don't want our children to have their own families and relationships and at their house, and then we turn around, we realize that we don't like each other and we divorce.
Right. Right. Like what was
What's
the point of all of that?
And
Right.
so is if the more you spend time together, you know, you learn something new about each other,
Mhm.
because we're all evolving, we're all changing, we're all different today than we were yesterday in
Mhm.
some way, shape, or form. Even if we're just different because we've learned something
Mhm.
in that 24-hour span. And so continue to spend time and learning one another.
Right.
Uh, uh, Nurture.
Be intentional.
Be intentional. That's one of our words.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen by accident. It
Yeah.
does not happen.
Have to be intentional, and it doesn't have to mean it's a big to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for us, it could be watching a kung fu flick. You know,
Yeah.
watching, you know, or watching sports. Me sitting watching sports with you. Let me get that right. Me watching sports.
No, because nowadays, nowadays you turn on sports before I do.
Yeah, but yeah, watching, you know, ESPN or you know, watching some documentary. Or sometimes we don't even turn the TV on at all, and we'll just sit and talk, just like we're doing right now. Yeah. So that's life-giving for us.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't have to have all of that, but we have to make sure that we are intentional, that we take some of that time throughout our day, throughout our week, just to check in, tap in with each other.
And I would submit that you need to find something that you and your partner do together outside of the children. It's easy to say that if you don't have children, because it's just y'all always doing something. But if you have children, find something for the two of you to do that has nothing to do with the children, whether it's watching a TV show, going to grab something to eat, just the two of you, doing a puzzle together, playing a game together, whatever it is, find something to do, just you, no kids. And while you're doing it, don't talk about kids. When is because some of us, well, I almost guarantee you, for those of you that have children, you and your spouse, you and your mate, you have children. When is the last time you had a conversation that had nothing to do with the kids? Every conversation we have, we do, we got to make sure that we have this for this activity, or they did this in school today. Let me tell you, what the kids told me about this or that. Every conversation we find is about kids. So we have to break ourselves of that.
Yeah.
And have conversations about kids. And we have to have conversations that have nothing to do with our children. Because guess what? You're an interesting person apart from the kids.
Yeah.
You're very intriguing.
I am very intriguing.
You're very intriguing.
Right.
Apart from the kids.
Apart from them.
Yeah. And so
I'm a whole person.
You are a whole person. And that's what we have to see out of each other. I have to see you as a whole person. I can't just see you as mom.
Right.
I have to see you as the beautiful young woman that I met and fell in love with, and
that's
I'm still in love with.
Young woman.
You still young woman. You still young. You always you are perpetually young.
Right.
In my eyes. And so we have to continue to build that.
Yeah.
We got to continue to nurture it, and be friends.
Yeah, and that's huge too. And I think even 22 years of marriage, we are still learning that.
Yeah.
We are still figuring that out, and we're figuring out different ways of being able to be in each other's spaces, and we're learning things about each other that we didn't know maybe a couple of years ago that we're learning now. So that's a great thing, and realizing that there are still things that we have yet to discover about each other, and that is so important, especially as we're entering that season where pretty soon we're going to be empty nesters.
I'm counting down the days.
We don't have that long to go.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just so important that you continue to invest into your relationship, into your marriage, because you don't want to. Who goes to the bank to withdraw something out and never makes a deposit?
Oh, come on now, you talk. See, you preaching now. But that's
true.
Yeah,
like, who does that?
And that's why a lot of relationships end.
Right.
Because they're overdrawn.
Right.
There's nothing in there because there have been no deposits being made. So I submit to each of you, make those investments into one another. Make that investment in getting to know each other better, to spend time with each other. See yourself as your spouse or your partner as that person, and not your child's mom, not your child's dad. If you do that, I really believe, with the Lord being first, that your relationships would be even more powerful, even stronger, even more beneficial, and your children will be the benefit of it. We say all the time, one of the biggest benefactors of our relationship being strong is our children.
Yeah.
Our children are the benefactors of our great relationship. The better we are, the better they'll be. Because if they see us not getting along, they're going to take that, they're going to put that on their shoulders and take it with them. They'll take it to school with them. They'll take it, and they won't be functioning there because they're carrying the weight, and they're not built to carry that weight.
Right.
And so have the right pecking order. Spouse first in a marriage, spouse, then children. If you're unmarried, it's your children, then the partner that you're dating. In all of those relationships, God comes number one.
That's it.
And so I think that's a pretty good spot for us to put a pin in it until next week. If you're blessed, come tune in with us again on next Tuesday. And hey, if you want to see us before next Tuesday, before next Tuesday, come see us on Sunday. Come see us at Grace Missionary Baptist Church in Markham, Illinois, 16650 Crawford Avenue in Markham. We have Sunday morning service every Sunday at 10:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m. sharp. You'll be done by noon. And so come see us on Sunday. But until next Tuesday, I am Edward Jones IV.
I am LaTanya Jones.
And this is the Family First Podcast. God bless you.
Bless you.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ, WVTC Allsip Chicago, and iNetworks Communication Station.